We live, we love, we serve.
Amen, amen. Today, the word is going to be coming from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. I'm going to read it from the NRSV version, Luke 10, 38 through 42. And it says, "Now as they went on their way, he entered a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him. She had a sister named Mary who sat at Jesus' feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. So she came to him and asked, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her then to help me.' But the Lord answered, 'Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things, but few things are needed. Indeed, only one. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her.'" Let's go to God in prayer. God, we thank you. We thank you that you have not called us to be in a culture that is always grinding. We are grateful that even in the creation story, you rested, which invites each and every one of us to take a moment to stop, to process, to rest, to be away, to get still, to be quiet. God, for so many of us, we are moving so quickly, so fast, all of the time that we don't know our up from our down and our left from our right. Let us get centered again today on what matters, what's important, God. Hide the messenger and let whatever you want to say to each and every individual who is under the sound of my voice resound loudly and clearly in such a specific way that they know it is you who is talking to them, God. We are grateful, we love you, and it's in your name we pray, amen. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken from her. You may be seated. Oh, I forgot to tell you that part. So Rick told me I could keep on both of my earrings today, that it shouldn't bang the thingy thing, but if it does, Rick, let me know and I will take it off. But I'm happy that I can keep both of my earrings on today. Listen, God has given us so many ways to be, so many ways to feel joy, delight, wonder, anger, ache. God has given us language and a full range of emotions that complete the human spectrum. But lately, I have found that when people ask me how I'm doing or how I'm feeling, all I got is I'm tired. I'm tired, or I'm exhausted, or I'm overwhelmed, which is wild because tired is not even an emotion. Like, it's not on that little feelings chart that you have, but it's like everything that I am doing is filtered through the level of energy that I have. And it made me wonder, when did we begin to stop naming our emotions? When did being tired become an emotional placeholder? Because the reality is that when someone asks you how you're doing, if you say you're tired, you're not really answering the full question. Because really, we don't want to always say the thing. It's not just you're tired. It's like, I'm emotionally depleted, but I don't feel like explaining that, right? I'm spiritually dry and fatigued, but I continue to show up. I'm resentful because I'm overcommitted. I've been doing too many things for too many people for too long. It's easier just to say that we're tired, but I'm beginning to think that we wear tired like it's a badge of honor. You know, like the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, you get a badge and it is embroidered with burnout and stitched with sleepless nights. And so we go around collecting badges for every single time that we said yes when we should have said no or just sat down. You know how I know? Because when we get the opportunity to stop and rest, we don't. Sometimes when I'm here and I'm talking to volunteers, I'm really mindful about burnout. So I'll come to them and I'll say, I'm going to ask you to do something, but I don't want you to feel like you have to say yes because I'm a pastor. Or if you can't do it, it's okay. I find that I'm always giving these preambles so people know that it's okay to say no. I'll remind them that you are a volunteer. You do not get a W-2 from FCBC, right? But I do. So if you can't do something, just communicate it so that I can support you. And it's so interesting that sometimes when I'm trying to help people not be burnt out, that they push back. It's like we say we want the soft life, but we don't choose the soft life. We choose to make soft places hard. We choose to make grace grit. We choose to continue to press and grind. It's like God lays us beside still waters, and we go by the waters and we decide we just gonna stir them up. It's like you get a free evening, and instead of just chilling, relaxing, you're like, oh, look at that dust in the corner. Let me get that. We find something to do to fill up the time. If we're offered help, someone says, do you need help? We're like, nope, I got it. I can do everything by myself. I need no help. I need no village. I need no community. We go on vacation and we take the laptops and the burdens with us. We fill our plates to the edges with so many things. A few months ago, I went to this restaurant, right? And the food was so good. You know when like the food is good and you know you're full? Like you know you should stop eating? But I kept looking at the food was looking at me, and it's like, are you gonna eat me? And I'm like, I might need to. And so I knew I should have stopped because I was so full. But I felt like the Israelites in the Old Testament when they came out and they were like, God, give us meat. And God was like, bet, and gave them meat, and they ate so much meat that it was coming out their noses. That's how I was feeling. I was on full on glutton mode, but the food tasted so good. It tasted so good. And you know what else tastes good? The byproduct of our tired. The applause tastes so good. The affirmation tastes so good. The control tastes so good. We're doing everything for everyone else except ourselves and except for God. So today I want to talk to the Marthas in the building. Because what happens when you're met with a moment you can't opt out of? What happens when Jesus knocks on your door and you're already emotionally depleted? What do? I can only imagine what Martha must have felt when Jesus knocked at her door. Like, you know, it's first century Palestine, so they were used to hospitality. If someone came to your door, you had to support them. But this wasn't like anybody coming to your door. This is like Jesus. He out here resurrecting people from the dead, doing miracles, the one that everyone's whispering about, and Jesus has come to your door. And I imagine that Martha probably felt a level of pride and honor, like of all the doors that Jesus could have knocked on, he knocked on mine. And I want to get this right. So of course she tells everybody to come in because, you know, Jesus don't roll alone. You ever had like 13 extra people just show up at your door? So now all these folks are in her home. And I wonder that as she started kind of going around and doing things, that on top of feeling honor and pride, she began to feel some other things, some anxiety, some pressure. What if I can't do this correctly? And so Martha does what Martha does, and Martha gets to work. I don't know, she's in the kitchen making some collard greens, ham hocks. I don't know what she was cooking, but she was in there. And at some point, Martha's in there getting down, and she looks up and she sees like, she the only one in there. You ever look up and realize you're the only one doing the work? And so she looks around and realizes that she's the only one doing the work, and she looks over at Mary, and Mary's yucking it up at the feet of Jesus, and I'm sure that probably irritated her just a little bit. And I can almost hear her inner dialogue, look at Mary over there. We are supposed to be hosting. She's just over there sitting at the feet of Jesus, not doing anything. It must be nice for someone else to do all of the work. You ever felt like that? You ever look and be like, oh, must be nice to just sit and rest while you may not say it out loud, but you know, sometimes we let things sit on the inside and it starts bubbling up and you're trying to be the bigger person. Like, right, every day I have to act to not be Petty LaBelle. Like, I'm like, okay, bring it down. And you're trying not to stew, but I'm sure that Martha was stewing. She was vexed. So she goes to Jesus and says, why isn't Mary helping? And I don't know what answer she expected to receive, but she didn't receive the answer that I think that she expected. You ever go to God with a question and you don't like the answer? You're like, I didn't mean that. what I wanted you to do was acquiesce to what I was asking you to do, right? Because if your request seems reasonable, you're like, God, why wouldn't you honor that? So she's really saying, Jesus, I'm here. I'm doing the work. Don't you see me? Why is there a different standard for how I have to show up versus everybody else? You ever felt that way? Like, why is the standard different for me? And usually if you hear sermons around this, because of Jesus' response, we read it as a correction. We leave with certain morals from the sermon. Oh, it's better to sit at the feet of Jesus than be caught up in the work. Better is being than doing. Don't be distracted by the wrong things. Martha is too busy for Jesus. She got it wrong. Be Mary, not Martha. Be Mary, not Martha. And the story gets flattened into a comparison about two sisters. One who wanted to serve and one who wanted to sit. One who got it right, one who got it wrong. And that is real hard for me to eat. I feel like Martha, I'm like, sis gets a real bad rap. And maybe it's because I relate more to Martha in the story than Mary. I was feeling a way about the way in which we identify Martha because something about her resonates with me. And so I went on this quest to redeem Martha. I was like, oh, no. Like, I think that there's more to this story than what we are seeing because we often hear that she's distracted by many tasks. How could she not be distracted? First of all, she was the oldest. Any oldest children in the house? Oh, hey, wave your hand. Me too. What about you younger children? Any of you here? Yeah. Middle children? All right, some of you are like single children, but we're not talking about you today in this story. But God bless, we're glad that you're here. But yes, Martha is the older. So you have Lazarus, who is the younger one. And you know if you have the youngest child, they're usually one, they get away with everything. Their parent, everyone's always rescuing. Listen, Lazarus even got rescued from death. He died, and Jesus was like, raise him up. That's like some youngest child energy. So you got Lazarus, who can even get away with death. Right? And then you have Mary, who is the middle. And the middle child often feels overlooked. So they're either the peacemaker, right? Or they're the person who they have these big emotional feelings because they're trying to get attention. So you got Mary out here breaking alabaster jars and rubbing her hair with Jesus' feet like it's performance piece. Like Mary is out here like doing these big things all of the time. And then you have Martha, who probably has a chore chart written on a scroll somewhere because that's what older kids do. So she was the oldest, she was the host, right? Because this is her household. They are coming to her home. That means she's the organizer. She's always on, always showing up, always making everyone else's life easier. The reliable one, the dependable one, carrying the weight of the world, always a bit overwhelmed, responsible to a fault, get things done without being asked, caretaker for everyone, often without support, quick to advocate, slow to rest, feels invisible unless performing, struggles with resentment, but doesn't know how to say I'm overwhelmed without sounding ungrateful. I've been reading this book called Surrounded by Idiots. No offense, that's just the title of the book, okay? But I've been reading this book called Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson. And what it does is it breaks people up into 4 different colors: reds, yellows, blues, and greens. And Martha is like a red through and through. Reds are direct, task-oriented, and driven by results. They hate wasting time. Her love language is definitely given like acts of service, right? Reds are control freaks who want to manage everything. Their performance is their safety. And efficiency means they don't always lead with softness, even if their hearts are big. You ever have those people and they just, every time they're talking to you, it's like abrasive and it feels like they're being rude, but they're really just trying to cut to the point? Yeah, that's a red, right? And because of that, reds are often misunderstood because you can't understand who they are because they're always like just trying to get to the most efficient thing. So if you contextualize all this, Martha, head of household, who is in her 40s, 30s to 50s somewhere because the lifespan wasn't that wrong. But if you notice, Martha also doesn't have a husband, which would have been abnormal. So either she's a widow Or she was never married, which would have been more rare. Most likely she was widowed, but she was a woman of means because she was respected in her community. So all this is going on in Mary's life, the oldest, the organizer, and she's doing this all in Bethany. Bethany, which means house of affliction or place of suffering. That's not just a domestic space. It's a spiritual and social climate marked by weariness, heaviness, and pressure, a weight that won't lift. When you are afflicted, it is chronic. When affliction is in the air, it clings to the atmosphere. It wears you down. It's highly probable that if you are in a place of affliction, you are going to be distracted. And when the house is afflicted, the ones holding the house together often go unnoticed until something falls apart. So Martha gets demonized for doing what she is actually conditioned to do, because the reality is you need Martha. Because without her, the conditions are not set for other folks to rest. Yeah, Marthas run businesses in the background that raise the bottom line. Marthas feed everybody and are the last to eat at the table, if they eat at all. Marthas are who you call when there's an issue you can't resolve. Marthas plan the trips, cover the bill, and check in when no one else does. Marthas host the family dinners, remember birthdays, and mediate mess. Marthas carry the vision while others get the credit. Marthas keep the books, manage budgets, and handle hard conversations. Marthas keep churches open, children clothed, emails answered, and fires burning. Marthas carry everyone else's peace like it's their personal assignment. Oh yes, we need Marthas for our businesses to run, for our lives to run, for our homes to run, for our churches to run, for our relationships to run. And it's all good until Martha has something to say about it. It's all good until Martha gets burnt out, calls out the disrespect or lack of support. It's all good until the ones who bring stability, caretaking, and leadership call out how they have been systematically sidelined, giving and giving until there's nothing left. It's all good until 300,000 Marthas, Black women, leave or are forced to leave the workforce in a single quarter. You're praised for your strength, but punished for your symptoms. So you're fatigued, but they call it laziness. They say your anger is aggression. They say your excellence is ego. They say saying no is defiance. Boundaries become betrayal. Self-protection becomes selfishness. Martha's story isn't just personal. It's political, economical, and spiritual. To be clear, you don't have to be a female to resonate with Martha. If you've ever been valued for your labor over in your personhood, if you've been ever expected to show up differently than those around you, if you've ever been judged when you broke down, if you've ever been expected to be both backbone and scapegoat, then you get it. Capitalism loves Marthas. But what happens when that love starts to feel like a reward? It's a trap. What happens when you internalize the external systems that exploit you for your work? They call it unsustainable striving. It's when your worth gets tied to your work and you over-identify with your output. And this even can trickle into our relationships with God and becomes performative faithfulness. Oh yeah, you are on all the ministries, but you don't never stop and sit down and pray with God. You're always there, present, praising just right, shouting just right, moving just right, outfit just right, but your personal relationship with God is deplete. Performative faithfulness. You do it in front of people, but when it's just you and God, God don't even be in the room. Performative faithfulness. And here's the reality. Any system that loves what you do, but never asks you how you are, is not of God. I'm sorry, it's not. And now somebody's in here probably like where, because I'm looking at my version of Luke and none of this is in the text. Well, it's in the subtext, okay? It's in the subtext, okay? Because we've seen versions of this in our homes and our workplaces, and I am convinced that there was some underlying frustration that Martha was experiencing. Why? Because Martha was a professional host. Right? That means that people were always showing up probably at her door. So you know when you're hosting, you don't want everybody to see your dirty laundry, right? You're going to put things under the bed. You're going to close things up. You're going to act, this is Jesus. You're going to act proper in front of Jesus. And yet, when Martha gets frustrated, see, she could have just grabbed Mary and pulled Mary to the side. So Mary, are we sisters or are we not? Are you helping me or not? But Martha didn't say anything to Mary. She said it to Jesus. And I began to wonder about that. Because I was like, why would she go to Jesus instead of Mary? And then I thought about my kids. I didn't know they were going to be here. Their iPad's loud enough because they're going to be like, you told a story about us without our permission. Okay. So my kids have a tendency of doing, like, one of my daughters without permission might go and get some candy. Right? So she goes and gets candy or something. She did not ask. Her sister will see that she got the candy and will come tell me, Mommy, so-and-so got the candy. Now, you think that perhaps she's telling on her sister because she wants her sister to get in trouble. But the reality is she's not telling on her sister because she wants to get her in trouble. She's telling on her sister because she wants candy too. She wants candy too, but she don't know how to ask for the candy. She wants the reward without the risk. And so I'm convinced that when Martha goes to Jesus, she's not going to Jesus because she's mad at Mary. She's going to Jesus because she wants to sit at Jesus' feet too, but she doesn't know how to ask for that. She doesn't know. She wants permission. She wants permission. Because what if Martha was actually tired too, but she didn't know how to stop? I want this, but I need you to tell me that it's okay. I'm used to being the one who shows up. I'm used to my exhaustion being overlooked. I've prided myself on what I do. I don't understand what it means to just be. I don't know what I look like without my work. How can I sit with you when you've come here for hospitality? I want to do something different, but I don't know how. You ever been there? When you want to do something different, but you don't know how. And if you pay attention, you realize that Jesus isn't calling out the fact that Martha is working. Jesus actually doesn't say anything about the fact that she's working. Jesus says, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. Because a distraction is a thing that prevents you from giving full attention to something else. Martha wasn't even present in the work that she was doing. You ever been doing the work, but you're still not present? Like, what is the point of doing the work if you're not going to be present in it? And that becomes distraction masquerading as devotion. And how effective are you when you're busy and distracted? You ever try to, sometimes I look at my laptop, I will have 60 tabs open. I'm doing this, and they show that even really, you're not supposed to multitask. We say it a lot, oh, it's good to multitask. It's actually not, because every time you switch tasks, you become distracted, and it is hard for your brain to switch back over to what you were doing previously. In the Greek, the word for distraction is perispao. It means to be pulled and dragged in many directions. So this is not simple distraction that Martha is experiencing. It is emotional and mental fragmentation. And because the verb is imperfect, it means that it's an ongoing distraction. So it's not like she was just distracted in that moment. It suggests that she is consistently living in a state of being distracted. Not one time, ongoing. She has a pattern of being this way in every space that she was showing up. And the word for worry, merimna, means to be anxious, mentally preoccupied, consumed by anxious thoughts. So there's this level of agitation that she's feeling. Her internal kind of worry is compounded by her external overwhelm and pressure, because that is pressure. To be a good woman, we all know the pressures we feel. To be a good woman, to be a good mom, to be a good spouse, to be a good employee, to be a good host, to be a good whatever. That's pressure. And so her distraction is a side effect of being asked to carry too much for too long and not knowing how to stop. So Jesus is calling attention to what's going on with Martha internally, not what she's doing externally. Jesus names what she can't. Jesus is calling out how she uses her energy. If you grew up in church, then you were taught about stewardship. Anybody grew up learning about stewardship? Oh, yeah, it's like 7 hands in the room, but that we were taught about stewardship. And stewardship essentially means that you are responsible caretakers of the gifts, the resources, and the opportunities God entrusts to us. So versus thinking that we own our gifts, versus thinking that we own these things, we are actually entrusted to them by God. And so we're taught to steward lots of things, finances, right? When we talk about tithes and offerings, you're taught to steward time. You're taught to steward gifts, relationships, even bodies, says your body is a temple. Like there's all these ways we are taught to steward. But how often are we told that we must steward our energy? Energy stewardship is something that I've been using as I've been talking to my friends quite a lot. One day I kind of thought about, I was like, I was finding myself frustrated. And I was like, this is just not a good use of my time. And I want to figure out how I can steward my energy better. So energy stewardship, as I'm defining it, is the sacred practice of discerning, protecting, and directing your internal resources. That's your time, your attention, your emotions, and your capacity in alignment with divine purpose rather than external pressure. So it means that I'm not giving this thing time and attention or resources if it is not in alignment with the things that I feel that God is calling me to do. Because sometimes we are in a conversation with someone, we're giving it so much energy, we're giving a project so much energy, and then you're depleted and you don't even have time for the things that God has called you to do. We got places, spaces, and people depleting us of all of our energy because we are not stewarding the energy that we are responsible for. And even Jesus practiced stewarding energy. Jesus would be like, all right, I just healed 5,000. I'm about to go over in this corner and pray and be by myself. Nobody come with me. Like, I'm about to go to this mountain and be by myself. Jesus took time to be away from people. And even Jesus picked his battles. Because I am sure that any day of the week, Jesus could have ate down the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They were not going to win a sparring match with Jesus. But you see these moments where Jesus presses in on them hard. And sometimes when Jesus is like, you know what? You ever know that you could take somebody out with your words, but you just be like, I'm thinking it. But you got it. You got it, sis. Go ahead. You're welcome, because I could decimate you right now, right? You're welcome. God bless you. Therapy. If I had one less week of therapy, though, you might have been in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So there's a way in which even Jesus stewards energy. And so I started trying to ask myself certain questions. What is the least amount of energy I can give to this? Do I really want to say yes, or do I feel pressured to say yes? Is this taking me away from my purpose? Will participating in this cost me my clarity, my peace, or my joy? Do I have to be the one to do it? And can this wait? A lot of people have been getting I can't do that right now. Unfortunately, I am unable to help you steward this project into fruition. I'm using all the very nice language to be I cannot. We cannot, because we do not have infinite amounts of time and energy. We are humans. I don't care how much people call you superheroes and this and we are human beings with limited capacity. We can only do too much. And if I only got this much energy, you're not about to get, you're not paying a bill. I'm not in a relationship. You're not about to get all this energy. You're going to get this little morsel maybe. I'm not about to give this all to you. And here's the thing, when you start stewarding your energy, people don't like it. They don't like it because it sounds like a boundary. And it is. But you have to protect. We say it all the time, I got to protect my peace. And then we be mad when we open the door for the people who are breaking the peace. We be like, come right on in. Come right on in. Spiritually deplete me, please. Like because we do all these things where we say we want these things like peace, but when we have the opportunity to do the hard things in order to make sure that we can have those things, we don't do it. We acquiesce. We do not steward our energy well. And so when Jesus says that there's one thing that is needed and Mary has chosen the better part, I don't think it's because Mary is better than Martha. I think it's because Mary knew with the energy the moment required. She could recognize and see that. So Jesus isn't choosing a side. He's telling Martha, you are not your labor. You are not your inbox. You're not your performance or your people pleasing or what you carry. It's like Jesus is saying, come to me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap, and yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than the birds? Mary didn't choose better because she was better. She chose what was necessary for the moment. She stewarded her energy well. And she understood that in that moment, her energy was best spent receiving rather than performing. Because when your energy is depleted, you need to be replenished. Because it's not to say that Mary was some old lazy bones either. She lived within the house. I'm sure she helped. She does things in the household. But in that moment, she was just like, I'm not about to do that. How many desserts do we need for Jesus? Like you got a pound cake, a chocolate cake, he needs a piece, a slice. And sometimes all we need is a slice, and we in there, everything we do, we give so much energy to everything, and we're calling it excellence, but it's also irresponsibility. Because if you're giving all your time to this, and then God shows up at your door, you're giving all your time to this, and you don't have a moment to meditate or pray, then what are we doing? But I'm doing it for you, God. God is like, are you? I don't even like cake. And so some of us are consistently tired, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and Jesus is calling out. That's why I think he had to call Martha's name twice, because sometimes the first time God calls us, we don't hear it, right? So Jesus is like, Karen, Deneen, Miss Mary, Adrian, Tanisha, Joseph, you are distracted and you worry about so much. It's not a good use of your energy. And we each have an opportunity to assess how much we are showing up. And that's why I love that at the end of the story, you don't see what Martha chooses. You don't see if she goes and sits at the feet of Jesus. You don't see if she decides to stay in the kitchen. And because you don't see that choice, I believe that it's an invitation for us at any given moment to choose how we're going to steward our energy. And I get that's difficult for us because so many of us are used to showing up all of the time. We're used to doing everything. And some of us, we get pride out of it. If we were really honest, that when we do so much for other people, it fills holes in spaces. It means that we don't have to focus on the things that are going on in our lives. It means we don't have to tend to the hard things. It means that we don't have to be quiet with ourselves. But if we would just stop, if we would just take a moment and be at the feet of Jesus, what lessons would we learn? What things we would get? You ever been super tired, but you have a lot to do? And, I believe that we should be implementing naps as adults, because I don't take naps very often, but there have been some times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sleepy. And my mom or someone will be like, just go to sleep. And I'm like, but I can't, but I have so much to do. But when you lay down and take that nap, you wake up, you're like, whoa, I'm new. And so sometimes just the stopping, taking a rest, because Our egos tell us that if we don't work every moment of the day, something's not going to happen. But then where does the grace of God falls in? Where? How is it that you can't trust that if you sleep or that you rest, that God isn't going to cover you? So that's not even being in relationship with God. You're really just in relationship with yourself and your work. Some of us need to be like, all right, God, I'm about to go lay down. And so let the ideas or whatever needs to come via osmosis. So when I wake up, I'm good. And I'm playing, but I'm being for real. Because some of us don't trust God more than we trust ourselves. And so we think everything is connected to our work. But we are distracted by too many things. And it is no one else's responsibility to steward our energy. So if that is you in this place today, and you feel the way you feel like you got jabs a little bit, you feel like you have that Martha energy where you just don't know when to stop. You don't know what rest looks like on a regular basis. You treat rest as a reward rather than a requirement. If that's you, where you just keep showing up and giving out, and at this point, you might be becoming a little bitter because you feel like you're giving out in a way that nobody is giving back to you, but you just keep going. If that's you, I want you to come down. I want all the Marthas to come down. I'm up here too. If I was not up here, I'd probably be turned around as well. Because we don't say it enough, but it is important for us to know that we are not our work. That we have value just because we are living, breathing beings. And if you didn't wake up tomorrow, that paper would still not be done. They would replace you on the job. Folks would move on. So we're burning ourselves to the bone. And not just women, it's men too. And sometimes it's harder for the men because they don't always have the safe spaces to say, I'm not okay. I need help. Our men say they need help, and then we call them weak. And so whether male or female, you get to break down. You get to say enough. You get to say, I'm tired. You get to take off that badge and wear something else. You get to have peace. You get to have love. You get to go out and go have brunch, go on a date. Some of y'all are like, oh, I want a spouse, and you're in the house. Are you going to marry the laptop? What are we doing? Give yourself a moment all of the time because you deserve it. You deserve it. God, we thank you that you did create us as human beings. But some of us, God, have forgotten who we are. We don't know what we like. We don't have any hobbies. We can't tell you the last time we had fun. All we know is our work and our output. All we are defined by are our titles. Not even our names anymore. But God, you know our name. You know who we are. You love us and you see us, all of us. The parts we show and the parts that we try to hide. God, let us be a little bit more honest. When people ask us how we are doing, it's not just that we're tired. We need to own our role in the tiredness and the environments that we have created. God, help us to know that it's okay to stop. Help us to know that we can leave the kitchen. If the dishes don't get done, it's all right. If all the food don't get made, it's all right. Because we are missing precious moments and opportunities doing instead of being, God. And in those moments, let us know that we are enough. And if the people around us only appreciate who we are, God, send us new people. If people always ask us for something but never ask us who we are, God, we thank you for new villages and new communities and new friends and chosen family and people who can see us and love us for who we are, God. Everybody don't have to be in the inner courts, inner holy of holies. Some people need to be on the outer courts, God. So we thank you that not only do you see us, but God, help us to see ourselves, our value, and our worth for real, for real. We love you, God. We are grateful, and it is in your name we pray. Amen.